Hello and welcome everyone to this collection of spooky oddities and forbidden knowledge pertaining to the first Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I've been wanting to put together something like this for a while, and as part of sort of saying goodbye before we start up Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, I figured this could be a fun way to do it. This is just gonna be a few things I think are neat and maybe not very well known about the first game. Some fun facts, sort of inspired by things like Blue Boy Finn's obscure Pokemon facts or P-Jiggle's Smash facts. I'll try to get my voice slightly more ominous and jump right into these mysterious happenings. So, Aang has this fun move called Avatar State that he can only do once he has or is past 100% damage. It has some floatiness to it and does multiple damaging hits. Generally, it's considered a pretty bad move since it has a bunch of end lag, making it punishable and not combo into anything. And it's pretty inconsistent, with opponents already caught by this move possibly just popping out before it's over. There is, however, a secret that this move hides. If you hold right and press your jump button and your special button, not at the same time, but very close together, jump and then special, you can have Aang zoom up into the sky with these hits active. This is pretty fun to play with. It might be a bit frustrating to gain access to this technique since you have to survive while taking 100%, but when you do, it's pretty fun to surprise people with this. You can also do this while moving to the left. One day, in a call, while mentioning this to see if it was known why this happens, I found out this wasn't even well known to begin with, but player and modder Bean tested it out and found that as long as you still hold right when doing this technique, then you can get Aang to do this while facing or moving to the left. I have yet to personally come across anyone that is familiar with this occurrence and knows why it functions as it does. Having to hold right is a pretty interesting clue, and surely there's a reasonable explanation somewhere. This oddity appears to have always existed in the game and persists in the latest patch, so it most likely will always be here to explore. This next fact is about something entirely intentional, and yet I do believe it is not very widely known. Helga is a fairly simple character. She punches, she kicks, she's pretty straightforward. And her up special, like so many others, goes its distance and then puts Helga in a helpless state, unable to do anything other than influence where she'll fall. At least, it would seem that way. But actually, this helpless state only lasts a certain amount of time before Helga can do whatever she wants again. This feels like some oversight or secret, since this feature of hers isn't mentioned in her move list, and there's no indication, visual, audio, or otherwise, that Helga becomes actionable again. So while this is in fact a completely intentional feature, it's understandable that this may come across as a fun surprise to many people, including potential opponents. I also want to discuss this unusual happening despite it not even existing in the game anymore. Everything else I have and will mention is still available, feel free to check for yourself, but this is about Sandy's Lasso from older patches. I actually made a little video on its own about this, but it never felt quite right to release. Now seems like a fitting time, so here's me from a year and like 2/3 ago to explain a bit more. On December 9th, 2021, Garfield was added to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Along with him, a pretty new stage and some fighter adjustments came. For whatever reason though, some of these fighter adjustments were wonkier than expected, and one character who got some wonkiness was Sandy. Her lasso still messed with people, but it was laggier and didn't pull people closer, it dropped them a set distance away. In the air, the lasso's hitbox seemed to be gone entirely, but it was actually over Sandy herself, so being close enough to her would shove people that set distance away. Since then, the game is updated and Sandy's lasso doesn't do this anymore. This is a video for the dumb little things I got with Sandy's wonky lasso while it was still around. Toph has a fun up special where she sends a boulder away below her. This boulder will hit opponents, float away, or collide with parts of stages and break apart. Except, for some reason, only on the asteroid platforms of the hardcore chores stage, the boulders just float. They just spin endlessly, seemingly never colliding with the platforms. Any opponent that touches these boulders will be hit as usual, and they'll then go away, but there doesn't seem to be any limit on how many you can set up. As far as I found, no other platform in the game acts this way with Toph's Up Special, and people I've chatted with that tested the game have no answers yet either. Maybe there never will be an answer for this unsolved mystery. For our next mysterious oddity, there are a few moves that can be held indefinitely. Moves like SpongeBob's Downlight Sweep or Powder Toast Man's Salute. But there's nothing quite like Hugh Neutron's Uplight. At a glance, it seems just about as silly as anything else, but then you notice he starts to move. Hugh Neutron can actually scooch around while holding his uplight. Each movement even makes a little squeak noise. This is pretty surprising and fascinating on its own, but it doesn't end there. As you experiment, you may start to notice that Hugh appears to be traveling farther. He is definitely moving further with each squeak. Pushing this further, you may find in time that this secret technique of Hugh's does not seem to have a limit. With enough power charged up, he jumps so far ahead, teleporting around stages instantly, still holding this silly pose. If he voluntarily stops or is interrupted, then he can try to start all of this again from the beginning. Overall, this seems to be a pretty cute and silly secret added to the game just to share some surprise, confusion, and laughs, sort of like Hugh Neutron himself. Now here's something related to replays. I've come across these interesting peculiarities because I love making those clip montages, and I found that some things only happen here. Like when using the nice fast forward feature, you may notice that not everything speeds up. Stage transitions, stage hazards, and fighter actions, of course, everything important, but the jellyfish on Jellyfish Fields wander about as leisurely as ever. The ducks in the back of Duck Duck Pie operate at their own pace, and the most notable to me is that Tremorton Joyride sticks to its usual background change schedule. I've gotten clips where the background was the final transition, the space background, but when going to record and speeding up to that part, I don't get that background. I can get it by simply not fast forwarding, which takes more time, but is worth it to me for the visual variety in montages. Using this strange trick, you can sometimes choose what background from the stage you'd rather have in a clip. And since the platform layout is affected by fast forwarding, that serves as a pretty big clue in telling when this trick has been performed. We all know about pausing, right? If you don't, pausing freezes everything on screen, letting you do whatever you need to do before returning to a menu or resuming the game. Well, almost everything. For whatever reason, when the game is paused in local matches or a replay, Gary's eye stalks slowly drift. They reach some sort of limit, not wandering forever, and upon unpausing will snap back in place, animating normally, but specifically when paused, his eyes strangely float. Similar things have been known to happen, like in an earlier patch of Smash 4, as documented by Slowbros, Pac-Man would also drift when the game was paused as he charged a smash attack. He would keep wandering even through walls, while Gary does seem to stop at a certain point, but I just can't help but wonder if these incidents are somehow related. And to close the book on this video, our last chapter focuses primarily on Hugh Neutron again. This time, his down special. Hugh's bike is already interesting and mysterious, as I've seen many people not even know that you can reflect and grab it like other projectiles when Hugh lets it ride on without him. Furthermore, Z-dropping the bike is really fun, because the bike just stands there with his hitbox, and it looks really silly that a bike just standing around sends people flying away for some reason. Furthermore, hitting the bike could cause a reflection, making the bike change who it hits, but if you hit it the wrong way, the bike might just blow up and blast whoever away. Further still, you can also make the bike move a little bit if you drop it in a very specific way so that it gets influenced by platforms. Further still, sometimes when Hugh gets hit when he's on his bike, there can strangely be multiple bikes. I'm no programmer, but as far as I understand, there's a trigger when Hugh is hit off his bike that spawns a new bike without a hitbox for a few frames that's intended to keep the opponent from getting wrongfully punished for getting a good hit. But then, if you hit Hugh with a move that doesn't do any knockback, like April's down special, then new bikes spawn while Hugh was never knocked off his bike, spawning lots and lots of new bikes. One day, I mentioned this while playing with some fellow Switch players like KirbCakes, who then experimented with this and got some very zany stuff to happen. She has a nice thread I'll link in the description where Rep Bean and others weigh in on what's going on here. There, you can also see another method to get this weird constant explosion where Gur gets thrown in. And I've actually also accidentally had this happen while playing with Booter. I guess I ran out of replay space, but I at least have this low-quality Nintendo Switch clip. Maybe the lower quality adds some kind of found footage vibe that fits the mysterious shtick we're doing here? I don't know. There may very well be other variations or other aspects to explore regarding all this, but I've shared what I've got, and I think I'm gonna call it here. Fig ultimately sums it up well. Hugh Bike is messed up. There are all sorts of other weird little things or just fun lesser-known interactions and features, but I just wanted to curate a few I found pretty interesting and leave it at that. A lot of us are really hyped for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 and wonder what fun surprises we might find there, but we can also always revisit this lovable game and play around with some of these intentional and accidental oddities. Who knows what might still lie in wait, as of yet, completely undiscovered. In any case, thanks for watching. I hope this was fun, I hope you all have lovely days, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye-bye!